What is the role of calcium in the bones? And what about calcium balance? What about those calcium supplements and calcium-rich foods? Well, we're going to explore those issues and more in our program entitled Building Better Bones Part 2, so stay by. Hi, welcome to Abundant Living. I'm glad you invited us to your living room today, as always, and I'd like to introduce myself, Curtis Akins, and this is my beautiful bride, Paula Akins. Yes. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Okay, you're looking mighty good, too.
Thank you.
Praise the Lord. You always look good, by the way.
Thank you, and praise Him.
Praise Him. Thank you. All right. Building Better Bones Part 2. Now, of course, last week we started this program on Building Better Bones Part 1. And just in case, if you missed last week's program, we're going to do a short review before we go into today's topic. But again, as we mentioned before, there was a tease I made last week. I'm going to repeat that tease. It's a question and also a sobering answer. And the question was raised to women who are over 75 years of age. And the question was, would they rather die or break a hip and be admitted to a nursing home? Over 80% of those women said they would rather die, because when we break a hip, a lot of individuals, 66% of those individuals lose their independence. So again, you can understand why most would say they would rather go down to an early grave than to break a hip and go into a nursing home.
And also women are so independent.
Well, that's true, too.
You know, I can see how that would cause a problem.
Yeah. So again, as I mentioned before last week as well, this osteoporosis is an epidemic over the age of 65 years of age. So once one reaches over 65, it's now categorized in that age group and beyond as an epidemic. So it's called a silent disease because calcium can be snatched from the bones without us even knowing about it.
You talked also about testing, different type testing to be done.
Yes, okay. We talk about the testing. I talk about the T-score. This is the DEXA scan, D-E-X-A, DEXA scan. And they will measure your bone in 3 different areas. They'll measure your bone matrix in the hip, the spine, and the wrist. And this is very low X-ray that you can receive, so no problems of receiving, X-ray that you may think it may be more than is needed. But again, they will give you a T-score, and -1 to a -2.5 in that category is low bone mass. Once you drop below a -2.5 and lower, then it's said to be osteoporosis. And in those 2 categories, 44 million people fall into that category. So again, it's a devastating disease, and 1 in 6 women will have a fracture before the end of life. So that's like playing Russian roulette, 1 in 6.
Well, one of the reasons we talked also about the fact that when you said that 1 in 6, now we're talking about the woman in menopause.
Okay.
The menopausal woman, also the postmenopausal woman.
Oh, that's true too.
And
yes.
mainly because of the fact that now we're having a problem with the hormones, the estrogen specifically.
Okay.
And because of the fact that sometimes women have surgical menopause at an early age, of course that sets her into a menopause. And in that situation, there's a problem with the bone loss. We talked about that first 5 years after menopause of a woman can actually lose her bone matrix, or not all of it, but actually have a problem with the bone matrix now having those little holes and stuff in it, okay?
Now, I understand too, honey, that, as you mentioned before, the first 5 years, because I think we saw a graph last week.
Right.
And once they reach the age of 50, or when they go through menopause, either surgical or natural menopause, that bone matrix began to decline drastically around the age of 50 or whenever they go through that period. I think up to 50% of bone loss at that time, if they don't take any replacement therapy, estrogen in itself. So let's talk about that, because last week we talked about if one does not take any estrogen replacement therapy, then they will lose that bone mass. So how can they counteract that?
Well, hormone replacement therapy, we're now talking about bioidentical therapies. This is not the patch nor the pill. And there is a whole group called the Academy of Compound Pharmacists, and these are pharmacists that actually do nothing but we call natural protocols when they do a prescription or write up a prescription.
Okay.
And of course, if you want to know how you can find it, you can go to our website, hseminars.com, and we'll be glad to let you know where these telephone numbers are. You can get a hold of them, but these are all natural, made basically with a soy base, okay? But has been very, very good as far as not having any side effects, no contraindications or anything for an individual who would take that rather than the patch or the pill.
Okay,
right?
So we're not talking about the Premarin.
No Premarin.
Which is,
you know what Premarin is?
Yes.
Premarin, pregnant mare's urine.
Okay, so I don't think we want that.
Or Prim Pro. They're all in the same category. And of course, in 2002, they made the announcement that they wanted women who were taking Premarin, Prim Pro, that they want them to come off of it because of the side effects of it was not helping with heart disease and cancers, and it was not helping at all. And there was some other things that was going on, so they just stopped all research.
Okay.
And any woman who was on those told them to come off. That's why the compound pharmacist is the way to go.
Okay, so Premarin, pregnant mare's urine.
Right.
It is not natural for us to do that.
Unless you're a horse.
Unless our native food is hay.
Absolutely. And it is not.
Yeah, our native food is not hay, so it's not natural for us.
We talk about that 40%, that women who are in menopause or postmenopausal women and that osteo issue. And because of the fact that of the estrogen and the testosterone, progesterone, all those levels, hormonal, but also it's not just that, but also bad eating habits.
Okay. Now, again, as a review, we talked about in particular, the animal protein.
Right.
When we take in animal protein, it snatches away the calcium from our bones. Calcium is used as a buffer. So the more animal protein we take in whatever source, be it pork, chicken, lamb, fish, beef, milk, cheese, yogurt, whatever it is, then the more animal protein we take in, the more calcium we lose from our bones. So we're actually peeing out our bones, all right? The kidneys excrete the calcium, and of course, we have porous bone or osteoporosis. So we emphasize that. That's why milk, although milk has calcium, but will only receive or absorb 30% of the calcium in the cow's milk. And since milk also has animal protein, it's actually a deficit, not a benefit in the long run. And we also stated some clinical studies in reference to that as well. So we're talking about not animal protein, but a plant-based protein, and that's the way to go, because when we take that in, then we keep the calcium that we're taking into our system. All right? Now, let's go to some other things. Now, we talk about the food pyramid chart. That's new as of 2005 as we speak here. And let's talk about the food pyramid chart, and then we're going to go into a powerful statement as well. Let's talk about the food pyramid chart.
One of the things that I got very excited about as being in the area of nutrition, and that is that every 4 or 5 years, a new pyramid chart comes out. Now, this one was different because this is the first time that the pyramid chart not only dealt with food, it also dealt with exercise. We have never seen that before.
Okay.
And that's because, of course, the problem with obesity in America. America has just gotten too fat. And that comes from a sedentary lifestyle and bad eating habits, fast foods, And in that scenario, what they did, Curtis, was they went through, instead of hitting even the dairy and the meat kingdom, they talk more about whole grains. For the first time, we began hearing a lot of information about having 5 fruits and vegetables a day. That's 5 each. And also having whole grains, brown rice and whole wheat bread and oatmeal, all those type of foods in the diet, because that fiber component, because of the cholesterol component, where our body's taking in too much animal protein, raising that cholesterol level up very, very high and causing a problem with, once again, the calcium situation for osteoporosis. And so with that in mind, we're talking more about more fruits and more vegetables. And of course, we said this before on our program, if you're doing something like, let's say, if you want to know an apple, an orange, a medium-sized banana is considered as 1 serving. If you want something like, let's say, vegetables, if you're doing a salad, then that's 1 cup of raw vegetables. If you're doing anything that's cooked, then that's a half a cup of any cooked type vegetables. And of course, same thing with fruit, a whole fruit, medium size, but if you're doing cooked, then we're talking now about a half a cup of cooked. Now, when it comes to that pasta and the grains, I've got to say this, we're only talking about a half a cup of pasta and a half a cup of rice, all right? Because we're looking at, basically, they're talking about a person who's taking in about 2,000 calories a day. Basically, women 2,000 a day, men between 2,400 to 2,600 calories a day. And there's those individuals who don't eat quite that much, but our concern is mainly that the normacy to not gain weight is about 2,000 for women, 2,400, 2,600 for men as well.
Okay, so dealing with the plant-based whole grains,
plant-based,
emphasizing plant-based protein as opposed to animal protein. I think the animal protein is more higher up in the pyramid chart.
Absolutely.
Less emphasizing this time. All
right.
Very good.
Well, you know, the other thing that we're concerned about also, and that is, what about nutrition for the bones?
Okay, we're going to have a powerful statement I'm going to read on the screen. Before we go to the screen, let me verify this author. The author is named Ellen G. White, a prolific author, a Christian health educator, and she's written in the 1800s. Believed to be inspired by God by over 12 million people around the world. The most translated author in the United States, 4th in the entire world. She makes a profound statement as far as our bones are concerned in our health. Let's go to the next graphic. The statement is this, quote, Ministry of Healing, page 295. Our bodies are built up from the foods we eat. The bones demand theirs. Therefore, this author here talks about every organ, muscle, gland in the body needs nutrition. Certain bodies, parts need different nutritional components. And she mentions that the bones in particular need their nutritional parts to build up the bone matrix. Now, having said that, let's look at the calcium balance, because we're talking about calcium, and in our skeletal system houses practically all the calcium within the body in the skeletal system. About 95 up to 99% of the calcium is in the skeletal system. Less than about 5% of the calcium is in our bloodstream. But this is what happened. This is calcium balance now, homeostasis. When the calcium in our bloodstream drops, it snatches the calcium from our skeletal system to maintain the homeostasis in our bloodstream. When that happens, of course, our skeletal system is robbed of the calcium because we have a deficiency of calcium in our system. The calcium has to maintain homeostasis in our bloodstream. So there's a balance there. So having said that, we need to understand what are those calcium-rich foods, honey. Let's talk about that for a moment.
The calcium-rich foods. Well, we talked about that before on one of our programs, and when we talk about that, we're talking about like cereal. If not, for instance, Total. Total, just three-fourths of a cup of Total has over 1,000 milligrams of calcium in it. Orange juice, 1 cup of orange juice has 350. And this is that one that has calcium in it. You've seen oranges with calcium also. 350 milligrams of calcium. Soy milk, and this is fortified, 200 to 400 milligrams of calcium.
Soy milk,
Collard greens.
Collard greens.
Or 1/2 of a cup, 180 milligrams of calcium.
Getting calcium. No animal protein in these now.
No animals. Beans of all type. Kidney,
all your legumes.
Pinto, you name all your legumes, has between 160 and 210. All right? And of course, tofu. And why is that high? Because tofu, not only the bean itself, has the highest amount of calcium than any bean in the bean kingdom.
Amen. For tofu.
When they make up tofu, they use a calcium starch that actually doubles the amount of calcium, which makes it higher in calcium than milk.
Interesting. So all those foods, no animal protein. So when we take in those foods, because it doesn't have animal protein, then we keep the calcium in those foods. So they're not excreted. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Well, what about the role of our building of the bones and the bone matrix as far as calcium is concerned?
As I mentioned before, the role, again, homeostasis, again, when the calcium drops in the bloodstream, then the calcium in our skeletal system replaces that, and then, of course, our skeletal system is going to be also impaired. So that's the role of calcium in our system. It will maintain homeostasis. So that's the role of calcium in the body. Now, we have a graphic, and let's go to our next graphic. And this is very profound because, as I mentioned before, we need calcium in our system. It is the most prolific mineral in the entire body. And then what's come next is, of course, phosphorus. So again, calcium is there, the most major mineral in the entire body, and most of that, over 95%, is in the skeletal system. So you can see that graph there that we need the calcium in our bones and also the phosphorus as well. It's very important to have that.
And someone might be thinking the fact they're going to ask you, and that is that, what about supplements?
Okay, now we have a lot of supplements people may be taking. Again, we have the calcitonin, and that's very minimum, either injection or nasal, and very little benefit from the calcitonin. You have the dolomite bone meal, that is known to be very toxic, lead in particular. You have Evista. Now, Evista is a hormone type medication, and but it can cause blood clots from Evista. You have Fosamax. Now, Fosamax is a non-hormonal drug, but with that you have inflammation of the esophagus, and also it slows down the absorption of calcium when we do eat foods. So all these supplementations do have their downside. So what we emphasize in here in next week's program as well is to increase our calcium-rich foods and to avoid animal protein at the same time. We'll also mention some other things as well. And again, one more last thing about the supplementation. You know, go to the grocery store now, and a lot of the foods, you mentioned about the tofu that's now fortified with calcium. According to the physician desk reference, a lot of foods are now fortified with calcium. There are different types of calcium. You have calcium carbonate, calcium phosphate, calcium citrate, calcium lactate. It goes all the way down the list. The most absorbable type of calcium is, according to the physician desk reference, is calcium carbonate, about 41%, calcium phosphate, about 40%. And then the distant third is the calcium citrate. And some of those calcium supplementations are now fortified in your soy milks.
Okay.
But the main thing is that you want to make sure that that calcium carbonate tends to settle down at the bottom of the carton. That's why they say on the carton, buy often, shake well.
Shake well.
When we shake it up, then we get that calcium carbonate. Otherwise, 30% or more can be at the bottom of the carton, and we miss out on that calcium carbonate or other type of calcium that has been supplemented in those particular types of foods.
Well, you can see that we've also moved into a section of talking about now the vitamins, the minerals, and the foods that we should be eating, plant-based versus animal protein, which is what we always talk about on Abundant Living, and also here at 3ABN, of having that plant-based diet that the original diet that God gave to you and I to eat to keep us healthy. Well, I know you're wondering, are we going to go in the kitchen now? This is really a surprise because I'm actually going to make a sausage vegetable soup. Now, I know you said, well, wait a minute, just get finished talk about protein.
No, that's animal protein.
This is a mock vegetable.
Okay.
Mock sausage vegetable soup. So get your pen and your paper and meet us in the kitchen.
Would you like to learn more about preparing healthful vegetarian dishes? If so, then you want to be sure to order our free Abundant Living resource sheet. It contains useful information about products and cookbooks that will help you to learn more about this natural way of cooking. Along with your order, we would also like to include a free copy of the booklet, The Natural Way to Keep in Shape. This 20-page booklet is filled with tips that will help you to develop a total lifestyle approach to health. To receive both the Abundant Living resource sheet and The Natural Way to Keep in Shape, call us at 800-752-3226 during regular business hours. Call and ask for this special offer today.
Well, welcome back. And we said we were going to be doing a special soup today.
Special soup.
And it's a soup that does not have any animal.
Oh, no animal protein.
Once again, okay.
Okay, this is a good soup.
And we're going to look at the recipe on this particular program.
Okay.
It's called a sausage and vegetable soup. It calls for 1 tube of gimme lean sausage, or 1 cup of onions chopped, 4 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of chicken-style seasoning, a 26-ounce can of spaghetti sauce chunky, 2 cups of rotini pasta, 2 large carrots thinly sliced, 1 medium squash sliced thin, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and 1/4 cup of Parmesan alternative.
Okay. Now, in that recipe, honey, you mentioned chicken-style seasoning. Now, let's talk about that. That's not real chicken, is it?
That's
because
right.
that's animal protein.
That's right. So what is it?
Oh, see, that's the last time I asked you a question. Well,
Yeah.
chicken-style seasoning is not chicken, and there's a beef-style seasoning. There's no beef in there as well.
That's right.
It's by McKay's, and it's a mock chicken and a mock beef. So this is a mock.
And it's beef flavored. It's actually beef flavored, okay?
Chicken flavored.
Now, I've already started my onions for the time's sake, and it's in its olive oil.
Okay.
And we're going to put in, and the reason why you saw those parentheses about that sausage is because the sausage is actually a mock sausage. It's made from soy.
Oh.
Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm actually mashing it up.
So now this is a mock sausage, gimme lean.
Give me lean.
In place of Jimmy Dean.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Well, yeah, that's true.
That is true.
And of course, this is at any of your major grocery stores, I understand.
Absolutely,
too.
absolutely. You can find it at a grocery store. And what's going to happen is actually just cook it until we get into little crumbled pieces there.
Okay.
And you can get this actually, I keep it frozen. If I want to use it in the morning, like for breakfast, making breakfast sausage, I freeze it in the freezer, and that way I make little circles out of it. This
has a nice texture.
Absolutely.
Give me a nice flavor, a mouthfeel. It has a meaty type texture as well.
And it actually reminds me of regular sausage, as you said before.
Yes, okay.
You know. Now, what I'm doing now is I'm going to, notice I had said also in this recipe, it called for the water. We've got the water and also the chicken style seasoning, which, as Curtis, you said already, it's mock. Already got that.
Got the water
going there. Look at that.
The chicken style seasoning already in there?
Chicken style is already in.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead on and put in first the spaghetti sauce. Okay. And I'm going to try to put it in without it going everywhere.
Now this is any type of spaghetti sauce?
This is, I like chunky. I like chunky spaghetti sauce. Okay.
Got to have the chunky.
And also, Curtis, it calls for the carrots and the squash because it's a vegetable. A vegetable soup, okay?
I think this would be the carrots and
squash.
And you
go ahead and put that in.
This is going into there? Right here?
Yep. All righty.
Make sure you don't get splattered.
And one squash not wanting to come out. Okay.
There you go.
All right. And then nextly, we're going to actually put in, believe it or not, those noodles. And that's the noodles.
Now, what kind of rotini? What kind of noodles?
Rotini.
Oh, rotini?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Or we call it a spiral.
Oh, spiral.
All right. All right. You see how easy and quick that is? And basically, it actually cooks until the noodles actually swell up or get soft and tender. Okay? Meanwhile, while we're doing that, why don't you talk to them about that? We said Parmesan alternative. I'm sure they're wondering what that is. So talk about that for a minute.
This is Parmesan alternative. Of course, this is alternative to the real cheese. This is no dairy and casein free. And so you can use this in place of Parmesan cheese, all right? So no animal protein in this product.
At all.
And again, you can get this at any of most of your major grocery stores and also health food stores as well. It has a nice flavor to it. Let me just go ahead and, oh yeah, it smells like stinky socks, okay? So this is Parmesan for sure.
All right.
Soy base.
Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the sausage and I'm going to put the sausage in as well.
Okay.
And this makes it taste good, okay?
Now, all that mixture there is going into the pot?
All this is going in the pot. This is a one-meal dish. Everything is in there at the same time. Like I said, you'll know when it's done because the spaghetti noodles will actually get softer, okay?
Okay, now, how did you come about this recipe?
Well, I actually saw this recipe, believe it or not, in a book that actually talked about pork or beef and stuff in it.
Okay.
Okay. And then it had some other thing, like it did not have the vegetables in it. It didn't have the squash and that in it. But I thought that looked nice.
That in there.
So I thought I would add some extra things to it.
And you took out the pork and added the gimme lean.
I took out the pork and added the gimme lean.
Okay, that's a good move.
Okay?
I appreciate that move.
So we're going to put that in.
Oh, okay. It goes right into the pot, huh? So this can be a one-pot meal?
This is some kind of good, yeah.
It's some kind of good.
And you can serve this up with Italian bread, whole wheat rolls. You can serve it up with a nice green tossed salad. All right?
Oh, okay.
Got all the goodies in there. Make sure we have all the goodies.
And the main thing we've been talking about dealing with building better bones is, of course, the animal protein. And so, of course, this does not have any animal protein at all.
No.
And that's what we want.
That's right.
To build those better bones.
And last but not least,
we got
the seasonings. Now, the seasonings that go in this, of course, once again, is the onion powder, the garlic powder, cayenne and a little
Cayenne
Italian
pepper.
seasoning.
Nice little kick. You want to put that in for me?
Yep. We're going to put that in.
Okay. And this is the
last
soy
but not least,
Parmesan?
we're going to put in the soy Parmesan. And you can tell this is, okay.
It's nice and hearty looking.
Nice and hearty.
Nice and meaty and hearty.
Put that in there.
Okay.
And this is 1/4. Yeah.
Yeah, 1/4.
I'm trying to look around the other thing there.
Okay.
This is the new recipe, Curtis, by the way, that
Now
we're doing out of the Global Cookbook.
So this is a new recipe?
It's a new recipe.
Part of the new recipe packet?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
So then once we do that, guess what? Now we just put our lid on, and when you come back, you will see the finished product. So stay by.
Would you like to learn more about preparing healthful vegetarian dishes? If so, then you want to be sure to order our free Abundant Living resource sheet. It contains useful information about products and cookbooks that will help you to learn more about this natural way of cooking. Along with your order, we would also like to include a free copy of the booklet, The Natural Way to Keep in Shape. This 20-page booklet is filled with tips that will help you to develop a total lifestyle approach to health. To receive both the Abundant Living resource sheet and The Natural Way to Keep in Shape, call us at 800-752-3226 during regular business hours. Call and ask for this special offer today.
Well, look at the finished product.
Oh, now this looks marvelous, darling.
Nice and hot. You see the big pieces of sausage on there and squash. And
nice and chunky.
Absolutely,
and meaty.
absolutely.
No animal protein.
No animal protein.
Okay, and this looks good enough to eat.
Well, good. I'm glad it does, because we'll have it when this show is over. How about that?
No, why not while the show is being aired right now, so they can see my expression?
I think that you can wait. That's why. Anyway, as we continue talking.
We'll talk after the program. Anyway, again, this is a good show, a good program.
Always trying to eat the food.
Come on, baby, watch the makeup, baby, watch the makeup. Okay, as we said before, we're going to tape this program or do another program on building better bones. And again, that would be the last program next week, and about how we can increase our bone matrix, our bone mass, and also we talk about phototherapy, sunlight, and physical activity as well. So how to increase those bones so that we don't fracture those bones, ladies. Now remember, 1.5 million fractures occur every single year. So we want to prevent that from happening. And so what we're going to talk about next time we meet is how to prevent that. And we can really strengthen our bone matrix. So what do you think?
That sounds good.
Okay, now, so we're not going to taste this at all. It's on purpose, you do not have a spoon over there, right? Is that correct?
Is this time for the John 10:10 thing?
Okay, well, not quite, because that's why I had some time saved for the sampling. But I guess we're not going to do that this time, all right?
I don't have any spoons.
Okay, well, anyway, as always, we always repeat John 10:10 as our closing text because it's a very powerful text. So, John 10:10, Jesus said, I come, that they might have life and have it more abundantly. See you next time.